Welcome to the Higher Self Podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to help you unravel anything keeping you from a life of true abundance, joy, and happiness, which is your birthright. Each week, we'll bring in different guests specifically tailored to help you on your journey to discovering your higher self. Whether it's spirituality, business, finances, health, or relationships, there are no topics that are off limits. So get ready and enjoy this week's episode on the higher self. Dating. I hope you're ready for this one because this one is going to be powerful. It's going to show you parts of yourself. If you're out there dating, if you're in a relationship, this episode, I'm telling you right now, is going to get deep. Welcome to the show, dating coach for men, right?
Yes.
Emily Freeman.
Thank you.
Soon to be Emily
Ligori.
Look at that. How does it feel to be engaged?
It feels amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is really amazing as a woman, and I'm sure we'll talk about this.
Yeah.
But as the feminine, to feel chosen and to feel committed to in that, it creates such a sense of safety and a sense of belonging that allows you to expand even further and feel like you can take more risks and be more of yourself when you put yourself out there. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Tell me this. I have the sense to ask you, you are, you're driven, you're entrepreneurial.
Correct.
In nature.
Yes.
You offer a lot of value to the world. And yet, now you're in this space where, like you just said, like you also are feminine.
Yeah.
And you were just chosen, and that must feel all giddy and wonderful. For the women listeners, which we have a ton of them, how have you managed balance in both?
I'm so happy you asked this question because it has been a journey for me to find that balance.
Has it?
It has. I've always been a go-getter. I gave myself homework in kindergarten when I saw the first graders had homework. So I wanted to naturally excel. And what that did was, as I grew up, especially in my late teens, early 20s in my relationships, I was way stuck in my masculine, very stuck in it. And what I actually learned through my journey in dating and my own self-discovery was how to be more in alignment with my own feminine energy. And so what I've had to do in my business and in my career is learn how to balance the two, how to really utilize both to actually create more. So as you know, the masculine is the doing, thinking, analyzing, right? I'm sure a lot of people listening already have that baseline understanding. Yeah. So it is necessary to build something. You have to be connected with it, but you also have to be connected with your feminine to receive all that you're creating.
Right.
I will intentionally in my business go, okay, today I'm receiving. And that week I'll get testimonials, I'll get a new client, my business will grow. Because it's not that I've just been sitting around wishing for it. But when you're able to tap into your feminine and be able to receive, man or woman.
That's right.
Then you're able to create that much more abundance because you're open to it.
Yeah.
And in my relationship and in dating, I had to be very intentional about switching between, okay, I've been in work mode and now I'm going to be in date mode and allow myself to receive, allow myself to be pursued, to be led. And that took a lot of building internal trust within myself and the masculine.
Yeah.
So, in my partnership now, it really is a conscious decision to either, okay, I'm going to go into my masculine right now and I'm going to utilize that piece of my energy to create something amazing and to build. And then I'm going to, okay, now I get to go into my feminine. I'm also very fortunate to have a partner, and of course this is intentional, who truly understands it and gets it, who also can say, babe, I think you should go dance a little bit. I think maybe you should go do something really nice for yourself. You need to pamper yourself right now, and you are deserving of that. I think so many women, we aren't taught that we are deserving to relax, to receive what it is that's meant for us, and to not try to force it.
Yeah. I caught on something that you said earlier, and I want you to take me here for a moment, because I think there's some valuable lessons that our women listeners can learn from this. And then fellas, hang on, because she is a dating coach for men. So hang with me here for a second. But ladies first, right?
We will get to you.
That's right. So when you said I was very much in my masculine in relationship, What did that look like? What does it look like to be in your masculine as a woman in a relationship?
So I would actually caveat that with it was wounded masculine.
There you
right?
go. Yeah.
So when you're in your wounded masculine, it's control, it's rigidity. And there was so much rigidity because I was so afraid to be fully seen. I was afraid to truly allow myself to be led, because in my life, I always felt like I had to make things happen, right? Like it was up to me. I was the doer. And so in a relationship, when a woman is stuck in her wounded masculine, it almost like I like to think of two rams butting heads, right? You're both in the head. Whereas it's harmony when one person is in the head and the other is in their heart. And that's not to say the woman has to always be in her heart and the man always has to be in his head, but that's where the polarity happens, is when those two.
And so if I'm a woman listening to this right now, because I'll make a post. I'll make a post on social media, about femininity, about feminine and masculine energy. And by the way, I'm only able to now make these posts and have these discussions because of my relationship.
Sure.
And I saw a beautiful woman who was in her masculine, like I'm talking literally like defensive, guarded, ready to like snap back, all of that literally melt into her feminine. So when I'm able to see it in real life, I'm able to see, oh my God, there's other women who are living life like this. And I want to be able to offer some sort of help or assistance, right? And so when I mention something like this, a woman will very often make a comment along the lines of like, what's wrong with me being in my masculine, right? And there's a little bit of defensiveness there, right? There's a little bit of defensiveness. And the reality is there's nothing wrong, right? But when you are able to tap into your feminine energy in relationship, what does that look like? And what does that do for you? And what does it allow space for both you and for the man?
Yeah. Well, in my experience, the word I like to use is yummy.
Yummy.
It's yummy. Like it feels good. It just feels soothing to be in your feminine. And yes, there are so many women who are stuck in, what's called the masculine shield. And as men, there are ways to invite her to get more into her feminine. And it's not to belittle her, to scold her, to tell her that she needs to be more feminine. It's to create that structure and that leadership so she has the time to actually feel like, okay, this is solid ground. This is a structure I can trust. Because there's so many women out there who are in their masculine. And like you said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you're in wounded masculine, when you have your guard up, that's not masculine energy. That's wounded masculine. And so when you're in that energy, it takes time for a woman to truly trust that, okay, this is safe, because most women who are in that energy have been hurt, whether it be by a caretaker in their masculine, the masculine around them, or in relationships prior to. So it is so important when you are a man in a relationship and you notice that a woman is guarded. Now, of course, this is big caveat that if a woman is not emotionally available, it doesn't matter what you do, that she's not going to be ready for what you have to give. She's not going to be able to receive it. But if you have a woman who is conscious, who's aware, and who wants to create a harmonious relationship and is willing to go through the work together, that's what it's all about, then you have certain opportunities to allow her to see, oh, this is structure I can trust. It's okay. I can relax. I can be led. He knows where we're going. He has a direction and he's keeping me in mind, right? I think there's so many men out there too who feel like, okay, I'm going to lead and I'm going to lead for me, right? And that can work sometimes, but a lot of the times what allows a woman to truly receive that is to know that that man is considering the whole unit in making those decisions. And a lot of women have come across men who don't do that. And so they feel like they have to do it all themselves.
That's right.
They have to protect themselves.
Yeah. Because in essence, they kind of do.
Yeah.
In the mind frame that they're in, they kind of do.
Well, in our society too.
That's right. Absolutely. It reinforces that need to be in that position in your energy. You mentioned emotional unavailability.
Correct.
You actually mentioned emotionally available. So I want to get into this, and I want to get into this because, all right, fine, I'm going to say it. Emily was my dating coach for a while there, right? I was struggling with am I gonna say this or not? That's how we met, right?
Yes.
And
Which is such an honor to have worked with you.
Yeah, and I bring this up, and let's dive deep into this because it's like for like a high performing like individual like myself, so-called high performing. I want to show you guys this, and I truly stand behind what I say when it's the greatest thing that you can do for your life is to invest in your life, you know, is to have some sort of guidance because you're out here trying to figure everything out on your own.
Yes.
And the question I have for you is, how is that working out? And are you getting everything that you should be getting, right? And so for myself in the world of dating, you know, obviously, you know this to be true. In the back of my mind, there was this woman named Jen that I really, really, really wanted and that I wanted to wait for. And yet, you know, I was trying to like have a good time, but she was calling me and I was so perplexed by all of this. And I remember you would tell me things like I was setting up dates with all women that lived like far away from me.
Yes. Yeah.
That was like a big aha moment for me.
Yeah.
And you were like, what are you avoiding? Or what are you afraid of? Could you talk about how we do that?
Yes. So I mentioned a little bit also previously about how we can be deeply afraid to feel seen, right? If the only type of relationship that we've experienced is when we're seen, we're scrutinized, right? So if we believe that being seen is scrutiny, or being seen means we're going to lose ourselves or lose our freedom or our autonomy, then we will subconsciously choose partners, be attracted, like without even knowing if someone's emotionally available or not. It is subconscious. There's an energetic attraction to knowing that this person is not going to actually be able to show up for you. And so we will subconsciously choose partners like that because we can trick ourselves into thinking we're going after our conscious desires while our subconscious still feels like, okay, this is cool. Like, we're going to be safe because this isn't going to actually work out. And so it's going to be fine. We're going to get to go back to what we were doing before and keep repeating the same cycles again and again. And that's what's so crazy about us as humans is that even if something's hurting us, if it's what we're used to, if it's what feels familiar to us, it's what we're drawn to.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if there's a fear of being seen or a fear of engulfment or feeling like you're enmeshed with somebody or that you're going to make a wrong decision, then, you know, especially like the physical distance can make it feel like, okay, I'm going to have this partnership. I feel this sense of belonging. I feel this affection. But I don't actually have to be fully there all the time.
So I'm safe.
I'm safe.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's not to say that long distance
no.
We both started and we started in distance too.
Yeah.
But it is important to recognize if that's a pattern and to just be really honest with yourself about what it's about. And to understand that it is safe to be seen. Yeah.
And so now I want to go deeper into what does it mean for when someone is emotionally available?
Yes. So I see a lot of men and people get confused with emotional availability because they think, oh, this person's sharing everything about them right away, or they're able to be physically intimate right away. They must be open and they're comfortable with themselves and they're able to really share in these moments together. But it's the emotional availability piece isn't really there until you have a deeper level of intimacy. And so emotional availability is really someone's ability to hold space for you, not just their own experience, but your experience as well. So a good example, if you're dating someone and they open up about their past and it seems like they have a good grasp of it, they have self-awareness, right? It's like, oh, okay, green flag, right? As we like to call it. That seems good. But then as you get closer, and you start to open up and show sides of you that are more vulnerable, and not saying like background and stories. People can rationalize those a lot. I'm talking about the emotion, right? Especially the feminine. There's a lot of emotion in the feminine. But as men too, I think that there's a lot of misconceptions around what it means to be vulnerable. And so they think it means having to share everything right away. But it really is about showing your authentic self and allowing someone to see you as your authentic self. And someone who's emotionally available will accept you as the ecosystem that you are, right? That doesn't mean they necessarily agree with everything, but you can't have love without acceptance. And, so emotional availability really starts with you, because you can't attract someone who will accept you until you fully accept you. All parts of you, not just on the good days. It's super easy to love yourself when things are going great. It's when you recognize that you have certain thoughts about yourself or about somebody else or about life, or you're thinking about decisions you made. Can you sit with that? And that's how you attract a partner who's emotionally available and can sit with that too.
I love that. And so the opposite of that, if I am single, for example, or if I'm in a relationship, right? Because make no mistake about it, I feel like in our culture and society today, it's like once you're in a relationship, you're like, you've arrived. Like, no, because you could be in a shit relationship 100%. And you have not arrived anywhere. You've arrived into exactly the place that you don't want to be in, but you stay in out of comfort, out of these paradigms that society has created that says that you have to stay in something or else, you're this doomed single person. I feel like when human beings get in relationship out of need, they attract from that need, and that need is a wounded part of ourselves. If you can learn to live by yourself and with yourself, and you are attracting from a space that doesn't need, but that would say, yeah, I want it to complement my life and furthermore, my life's purpose, then you have a shot at attracting a true soulmate, right? I know I'm not a dating coach, but I coin it as the difference of like attracting a mind mate. Right? Which I once did in my life. And a soulmate, which I feel like I have now done, right?
I love that.
You like that? Don't take that one. That one's mine, all right?
You got it.
But so what does it mean to me then if I am attracting emotionally unavailable people? What does it say about myself?
Well, like I said, it means there's a level of emotional unavailability within you. Right. You're not holding that space for yourself to actually be able to sit and to process what's happening with yourself. You're distracting, right? And our society is set up for distractions. We can watch Netflix. We can watch TV. We can, go out and party with our friends. We can exercise. Right? Exercise is one of and I used to be a personal trainer, so I'm aware, can be one of the biggest distractions that we try to convince ourselves is not. I'm doing something good for myself. I'm going to go run it out. Yeah, that's great. It's good to be able to process things in that way and not stay in the ick for too long, but you have to also clear out the space to stay in that for a little bit because it's going to teach you. And when you keep attracting emotionally unavailable people, it's because you're supposed to learn something from it. This is part of your healing journey. It's allowing you to recognize, what parts of you are still energetically aligned with somebody like that.
That's right.
I do want to caveat that of course there's relationships that are abusive or anything, and that's for no one to be blamed for that. But when we're talking about just somebody who can't fully choose you, who's not fully there for you, it really comes down to your ability to connect with yourself before you can connect with somebody else. And I see our society, and especially men, disconnected from that because we're not taught to be.
That's right.
And especially men. It's like, no, go work it out.
Right.
Man up, like go do your thing. And it really disconnects them from women and the feminine, not necessarily them needing to be in their feminine energy, but to honor it in their partners. Because if you have rejected your own feminine energy as a man, you are going to reject it in your partners, and you're going to have a mind mate, right? I hear a lot of men who are like, well, I just want this woman, and they list out everything. I'm like, so you want you with a female's body? Does that really balance you out? Is that really what's going to serve you? Or is that's what's going to allow you to still hide behind the parts of you that you are comfortable with versus exploring the parts that you aren't? Relationships are our greatest mirrors. And when you choose a partner that balances you, that kind of is the puzzle piece to where you might still need to create more wholeness within yourself, and you actually listen to that, then you can grow together.
It's so interesting that you said that, because Have you ever looked into a twin flame theory, the concept of twin flames? I want to speak on that for a second because I believe in many ways that's Jen and I. And I say that because we would get to these places. I don't think we've yet to get into a full-fledged argument per se. Not that that's like we're special or anything. We've had our moments of disagreements. Yeah. But where our arguments is in energy. It's like we get to this space where we feel like the magnet doesn't want to, you know, when you have like opposing magnets and then all of a sudden you flip it and it's like, it's back to normal. We get to this space where it's like so difficult and it feels so ugly inside when we're not able to connect because energetically we know something that has not been spoken yet. We know there's something that we are not like connecting with about the truth of how we're feeling. And then when we finally do, it's like we're back to normal, you know? And I bring that up because the beauty of this type of relationship is that it forces you to deal with whatever it is that you have to deal with. It forces you to, there's no hiding.
Right.
I was married for 13 years and we hid everything under this rug. Everything. And the next thing you know, you're having an affair or you're doing something that you don't want to do, but it's just the culmination of so much pent up energy that you weren't safe to speak about, right? And so when you say that relationships are work, right? I remember I used to think and say, no, they're not. Like, it should be easy or whatever. And now I understand it. I understand it because a true relationship truly is a mirror. And it's a mirror for those fragmented parts of your being that you have been afraid to go into. And I think that's the beauty of a powerful relationship is when both a man and a woman can feel safe enough to like let go, you know, safe enough to go into themselves, safe enough to go into that place in their heart that they've been afraid to tap into. And they know that the woman or the man or their partner is able to hold them and say, I got you. And they're able to release the tears and release the emotions. And I think that's what really draws human beings like really closely together.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And how beautiful. I'm so happy for you that you have a relationship like that. Yeah. Because that's what it's all about. Yeah. Is having full acceptance. And our society really doesn't set us up to be able to do that. I have a very complex relationships with the dating apps. I met my fiance on Bumble. I really thought I was going to meet my person on Hinge. I just had this feeling it was Hinge. So it's okay though. We love Bumble. Thank you, Bumble. But in our world right now, as soon as you hit that place where it feels uncomfortable, it's so easy to go, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go look and see, because this is almost perfect, but I really want her to be a half inch taller. So let's go find that doppelganger on the apps again. Or now I know what doesn't work for me, right? A lot of the times we will get out of relationships and make really quick assumptions as to why it didn't work. And we don't allow ourselves to really sit and to experience, oh, wait, no, maybe it was something else.
Maybe it was me.
Maybe it was me. Yeah. And to allow ourselves to heal and to hold space for that. And so what we do is we go, okay, well, I know that I don't want someone who likes this or likes that or likes this because A plus B plus C equals what I got. But a lot of the times what we do then is we then look for the polar opposite and run into a whole other mirror that just shows us other sides of ourselves, or maybe the same, right? Because there is going to be an underlying familiarity to it. That's why you're going to be attracted to that person. But what it also does is it sets us up to qualify people in a way that maybe misses out on somebody who could be amazing for us and gets us into a relationship with somebody who isn't necessarily aligned with us. You know, a great example is if you want a woman who's fit, who goes to the gym, cool, great, love to share fitness together. But why does she go to the gym?
Oh, you're speaking right here, some truth.
Yeah. Yes. Why does she go to the gym? That's her core value. That's what creates compatibility. Not that she goes to the gym, but why she goes, right? A woman who goes to the gym, or a man.
Or a man.
Right? If you're a woman thinking about a guy who takes care of himself. And one person goes simply for aesthetic reasons and because it feels good to them, or that's how they relieve stress. And another person goes to the gym because they are utilizing that as another tool for their entire well-being, right? They also have other tools and mechanisms for self-acceptance and for, continuing to release their stress or meditate or anything like that. Those are two people. Neither one is right or wrong, but those are two people with very different values. And if your values are closer to one than the other, but you end up getting into a relationship with somebody who is not aligned with that, then you're going to wonder, well, I thought I really wanted someone who is fit. Why didn't this work out? What else is there? Let me search for it. When really, it wasn't about the gym at all in the first place. It was about your values and how you see the world.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's really important to not mistake qualities or traits for values.
You work with a lot of men.
Yes.
I think first and foremost, I know for me, when I decided to finally reach out to you, there's a sense of like true vulnerability.
Sure.
In that decision as a man. Because in the one thing that, society teaches us we should have it figured all out,
of course,
is it's with women. And I'm not afraid to admit, I obviously didn't have it all figured out. I mean, if you as a man go through a 13-year relationship where you are not only not happy, but you're not free. By the way, this is all me, but I didn't feel confident enough in myself to fully express my truth and my voice, then there is something that I am missing about relationships. Because essentially, when you're living life like that, you are essentially setting up your life to, for your entire existence, be in a space where you are not living truth. And there's something inside of you that has accepted that, And so that's why I say I obviously didn't have this right? So when I reached out, it was like, in my eyes, it was like, I have a coach in every other area of my life. I have a fitness coach. I have a business coach. I have a marketing coach. I don't have a problem with doing this. Sure. Why am I having a problem with doing this in this area? I'll tell you why. It's because my ego is having a problem with it.
Sure.
Right? So you work with a lot of men. And you have a real deep look into the mindset and the heart of men. What have you discovered in so many conversations? What are men looking for?
Well, it's kind of been on the theme of today, but men are truly looking for acceptance and respect. The masculine is actually driven more by acceptance and respect, whereas the feminine is love. And I think so much of the time, men have been in relationships, whether it be a romantic relationship or just a relationship with those closest to them as they grew up, that didn't empower them to be able to have their full expression. And so what I see with a lot of men is they look at dating in the same way that they would look at business or they would look at fitness and be like, okay, I need an equation and a formula, and I'm going to get this equation and formula, and it's going to set me up for success in dating. And the majority of the men I work with have been in long-term relationships, marriages, and have ultimately come out of them realizing, okay, I want to learn how to do this better. And usually they're first drawn to, okay, let me figure out how to communicate with women. How do I talk to women? And they'll download texting books and, they'll think about where should I take her on a date and, all these surface level pieces. And what it ultimately comes down to is that so much of the time, men are not connecting with women because they aren't connecting with themselves. They don't have a deep enough understanding with themselves and that gut feeling, which is also the feminine, the intuition, to be able to feel into what feels good and what doesn't feel good to me. So they're drawn to these tactics, to these, sometimes games even, to try to get what they deeply desire, and they're left in the same place that they began. And so usually when men come to me, they're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to let this all go. This is exhausting. I'm not having fun anymore, but I know I deeply desire this partnership. Like, this is the thing that is missing in my life. I have it all, but the dream woman, like, what is happening here? And so much of the time, especially with high achieving men, I can say this for myself as a high achieving woman, it is ingrained in us that love has to be achieved. That's what makes it gratifying, and that gives us that thrill, right? That chase after somebody, which, by the way, nobody should be chasing anybody. This is a pursuit, not a chase. A chase is ultimately going after a woman who is not reciprocating any interest. And it is not your job to convince her to be into you. It is your job to show up for a woman who is interested. But what happens is, now I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
It was a pursuit and not a chase?
Yes. So ultimately what I see is in this achieving of love, that men are then subconsciously drawn to emotional unavailability because that's what gives you that chase, right? That's what gives you the feeling. That's what gives you the feeling of, I'm going to get this untouchable woman. And so much of the time, men confuse unavailability with high value. They're like, oh, she's not giving me any attention. That must mean it's because I have to prove myself, or she is better than me, or this will feel so good when I change the script, when I am the man that shows her what life is truly about, what love is truly about. And so they will convince themselves that they have the power in order to do that. And as you know, you've seen in your own story, it's not about that. It's about allowing somebody, a woman, to relax into her feminine, to have that own discovery for herself. So really, really important to not try to be the person who proves everybody wrong about what you can have, because that's not love. That's not partnership. You know, that's ultimately making a woman into a prize.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you already set yourself up to not show up as your authentic self, because now she's something to be achieved.
That's right.
And how do you achieve something? Well, you put on a face, you put on an outfit,
show, right.
You put on a performance, and then you have to upkeep that performance. And you know what happens as soon as you don't want to upkeep that performance anymore? Panic. Not necessarily that you're going to panic on the outside, but internally. And that's what leads to self-sabotage.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned a high value woman.
Yeah.
What is a high value woman and what is a high value man?
Yes. I love this question. I get it asked a lot. So a high value woman is someone, or a high value man is someone who makes a good partner. So let's strip away the external pieces, right?
By external, what do you say?
Not her beauty, not her status, not her career, not her car or his car, right? It is who she or he is as a person on the inside, and how they can show up for themselves and how they can show up for somebody else. So it is emotional availability. It is emotional regulation. It's communication skills. It's the willingness to grow, right? A growth mindset. And it's someone who has aligned values with you, right? So there are two pieces to a high value woman, high value man. One are the universal traits that I just mentioned that help you create a wonderful partnership that's going to last, that's going to help you grow, both of you, into your best selves that you could never be on your own. And then the second piece is, what makes him or her high value to you? How do your lifestyles align? How do your visions and goals align? Right? There's so much glue to a relationship when you have the same vision. Otherwise, that's where we can go back to the beginning of our discussion around a woman being inner masculine. If you're both leading a certain way, but you're not actually coming together in that path, then you're growing apart. And we see that happen so much in relationships.
Yeah.
I want to go over here. This is what's important to me. Okay, I want to go over here. This is what's important to me. And we never come together to say, hold on, maybe we're actually talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we're both trying to get to the same place. We're just using different language for it. So really important that you both have that driving force together. That doesn't mean you both have to be entrepreneurs, or you both have to be, doing the same thing or having a perfect aligned goals. It's really, what sort of life do we want to create? What mindset do we want to be in? How do we want to hold space for receiving abundance? What does that look like to us? And how do we become a team to get there together?
Yeah.
And that's where the masculine and the feminine comes in.
It's so interesting that you say this alignment in values is so important, because I can attest to this. I have been in relationships in my past where, like, let's say, like, I like nice things. I like a nice house.
Yeah.
I like to travel in first class.
Yeah.
I like to stay in 4 or 5-star hotels. That's just what I like. I don't do it to show anybody. I do it because it's the energy that I like to be in. Correct. I like to be in the energy of abundance. And with that, I like nice clothing, you know, and it's just how I am. And then I've been in relationships and partners where they see that and they go something like, well, what are you trying to prove? Well, who are you trying to prove it to? Well, why is that so important to you? And it's because they don't like that. Right. And that's okay. But it wasn't okay for me.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that I like in relationship is I like peace. You know, I'm okay with a little, like, you know, argument here and there, but I also like an outcome in that argument. You know,
sure.
I don't want to argue for the sake of arguing and then run up against a brick wall that doesn't have the capacity because of a wounding that they haven't yet dealt with to just be able to say, you know what? I understand what you're feeling. I didn't realize I made you feel that way. I now am able to look at the situation from a different set of eyes, and I realize how I contributed in A, B, C, and D. And in the future, I would like us to work together in A, B, C, and D. And I am sorry if I made you feel like these are powerful words. This is beautiful. Like, this is communication and relationships and like life 101, yes. Right? And I've been in relationships where I didn't hear those words for years. And eventually what happens when you're in a relationship like that is you shut down. You shut down because there's no place to go. There's no place to go, you know? And also, I like to make a lot of money, you know, and I'm okay with that. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with making an enormous amount of money by bringing value to the world. As a matter of fact, I think it's our gift to the world, and it's the world's gift back to us. It's reciprocity, you know? Yeah. And then I remember being in relationships where I actually just had a friend tell me that he was walking around with a book of Elon Musk once because, you know, was like reading Elon Musk's story, and his girlfriend told him something like, you know, well, why are you reading that book? He's evil or whatever. No. Which probably rightfully so to you, he's evil. But to me, I kind of like Elon Musk, you know? Right. And these are the things that you've got to like be able to be honest with yourself about. It's like, you know, what is in alignment with who you really are? And don't settle for anything outside of that.
Sure.
Because you're going to live a life of stress, resentment, and unfulfillment if you do. And that's my next question for you. What's the balance between like knowing what you want and not settling, and yet leaving space for the unknown, you know?
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I completely agree. There's no settling. Especially if you're a high achiever, you're not settling in any part of your life. Why would you settle in your relationship?
Could you say that again? Because that's what some people don't understand. Like, if you actually, Emily, if you're settling in your relationship, you're settling in other areas of your life.
100%. Because your relationship, I would argue, is the most important part of your life. It will change your trajectory, right? It is ultimately the path that you're choosing, and that partner can either help you expand and grow and achieve and do and be more in whatever way that looks like for you, or they can hold you back from that. And the root, though, of being able to grow together, and I feel like I've said this over and over again, it's so important, and it's been so much of my own journey, is acceptance. And so it's not to say that a person has to be 100% like your clone, right? Not at all. But you want someone who fully accepts that, right? So you could have a partner who maybe is like, I don't know if I really care about having a nice shirt, but I love it on you.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm going to buy you one.
That's a different energy.
I love it on you.
Yeah. Versus,
what, you spent $80 on a t-shirt? And you're like, no, actually it was $200.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, and it's those sorts of comments that make us also then use energy to defend who we are.
Waste energy.
And it's that, especially if you're changing the world or you're changing people's lives, you need that energy. And you're holding space for people all the time. You need to have somebody who creates so much acceptance and love in the partnership that you can go and hold space for others. And when you're utilizing that energy to continue to like defend yourself, you're gonna be tired, worn out.
That's why I was 50 pounds overweight.
Resentful. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think also it's really important, men and women, to recognize that simply by allowing someone to be themselves, it's so freeing.
For both people.
For both people. We try to control so many things in our lives. Like, it's just like, I'm going to control this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to nitpick this. I'm going to control that, right? Especially high achievers.
Yeah.
Right? We like to light the path forward. We see where we can go. We illuminate. Like, we see all the different things that could possibly happen. And so I see that happen so much in my clients is like, oh, well, maybe I could change this, or maybe I could change that, and maybe I can do this. And I once heard a person is an ecosystem. So when you want to change one piece of them, it means the ecosystem is going to change. So how can you love the entire ecosystem and then love maybe the parts of them that maybe weren't quite exactly what you were expecting in your soulmate, to be able to see, oh yeah, that's a part of everything that I love. So do you, boo, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you. But at the same time, if you have a partner who really doesn't get you, then it's not necessarily even about having aligned values. It's simply being seen. Because when we allow ourselves to see ourselves and to accept all parts of ourselves, like, yeah, I like nice things, right? You're like, I'm unapologetic about that at this point in my life.
That's right.
I would assume maybe there was a point in your life where it wasn't as unapologetic and you're like, is this okay? Is this not okay? Or maybe you were out on the external unapologetic about it, and on the inside it was like, oh, they're going to judge me for this, or oh, maybe I shouldn't have, But when you allow yourself to do that for you, it's so much easier to do it for somebody else, and to also allow yourself to be fully you in a partnership without holding back. So then you're naturally going to align with somebody who accepts it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for watching this week's episode of The Higher Self. The reality is if you're watching this show, it's because you are searching for more, and you know deep within your heart and soul that there is more potential from your life. Maybe you desire true financial abundance and freedom. Maybe you desire to heal the fragmented parts of you. Or maybe you desire to attract the relationship of your dreams and be in a relationship with passion and true love. Whatever the case may be, that is what we specialize in. We specialize in helping you and guiding you to healing the fragmented parts of your life that have created these stories in your mind that keep you from living the life of your dreams. If you want to find out how we can guide you in that process, my mastermind Inner Circle does just that. It's a group of like-minded individuals that is wanting the absolute best out of life and will not settle for anything less. We get together 4 times a year in person and twice a month online. If you're in a place in your life where you're ready to discover your truest potential, then Inner Circle is for you. Message us the word Inner Circle right now on Instagram or Facebook at Danny Morel. Our team will message you back and begin to share with you the details about what it would take for you to join our Inner Circle. Message us the words Inner Circle right now. And so when you're thinking of all of that and you're out in the dating world, right? I've heard you say a lot of times like green flags versus red flags.
Yeah.
So what are those green flags and what are those red flags?
Yes. So green flags are like, the indication, okay, this person is really, this is going well. So green flags could look like how somebody listens and reflects back to you on the first couple of dates, right? Are they just waiting to say something about themselves? Or are they really invested in getting to know you and understanding you? That's somebody who understands their own values and knows what they're looking for. It doesn't mean they have to come to the table and say, this is what I'm looking for. And like, are you cool with that? Are you aligned with it? That's not how intimacy works. Intimacy is not a checklist. It happens over time. And when you put someone on the stand and go, okay, these are all the things I need. Like, do you have those? It's immediately like defensive because it doesn't show self-awareness or emotional regulation when you do that. But Other green flags to look for are how somebody treats others around you, right? Your date is going to hopefully, bare minimum, respect and be nice to you, right? How do they look at the people around you? How do they talk about and to the people around you? How do they talk about their friends? How do they talk about their families? If somebody is talking about having really close relationships and appreciating the people in their lives and appreciating the uniqueness of people around them, that's a huge green flag. That's someone who's secure with themselves and can allow other people to do their thing, right? When we're insecure with ourselves, that's when we want to control the people around us. So, to go to red flags is someone is talking about, it's just so annoying how, this is happening. And I don't really like that this person is doing this. And they're always looking at the negative. Big red flag, right? I like to think there's yellow, there's orange, there's red flags, right? Red flags are those deal breakers. They are the non-negotiables, like this person is not in integrity. This person is not nice to me. This person makes me feel bad. Red flags, deal breakers. And of course, you're going to have your own personal deal breakers too, right? If you don't want a smoker, you don't want a smoker. That's a red flag. If you don't want someone who parties, right? Red flag for you. Other green flags to look for is like when they say they're going to do something, do they do it? How do they do it? What energy are they in when they do it? So much of the time, someone will tell you, I'll do that, or I want to take you out. And when the time comes, it's almost like
pulling teeth.
Yeah, it's like, is this really happening or not? That's, a green flag when someone is excited to see you, right? Just knowing that someone is excited to see you, that is a huge green flag. And so many people push that very person away who's excited to see them. Because if you don't have your own internal worth, you're going to think there's something wrong with anybody who would choose you.
Can I tell you something, Emily?
Yeah.
That, wow. that happened to me. Because, in many ways I saw Jen as just, she's the dream. I tell her this all the time, you're my dream.
Yeah.
You're like literally, like when I look at you, you are proof that I can have anything in the world because somehow I have you. And there was a part of me where I would literally sit there and think, is there something wrong with you? I mean, honest. I would sit there and think, is there something wrong with you? Because why do you want me? Like, why? Like, I look up to you and to who you are as a woman so much. Why would you want me?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, what? Are you like weird or something? Is something going on here? But that was my ego.
Yeah.
It was my ego unaccepting of true love.
Sure.
Unbeknownst to me, nothing is wrong with her. And none of this conversation is going on in her. It was all me. And it was all me trying to find ways to reject everything that I've ever wanted.
100%.
And we do that. We push away everything that we've ever wanted when we're truly afraid of love. And we're truly afraid of our true power.
Yes.
Because think about this. If you could literally manifest the relationship of your dreams, what else can you manifest? What else is possible? And then if you're truly able to manifest anything that you want, what story inside of you, what victim energy inside of you dies as a result of you now finally being aware that you are the one and you have the potential to create whatever life it is that you want.
Yeah.
All the stories you heard your entire life about you couldn't have something because of the color of your skin or because of your gender or because of the neighborhood you grew up in or because of who your parents were or because of what your mom or your dad said, all of a sudden that all has to die because the two can't be in the same space, and that's a powerful moment.
It's painful too.
It is.
And it's
scary. It's scary.
Yes.
It's scary.
But it is so worth it.
It is.
On the other side of that is freedom and it's love.
It's so crazy and it's power because you finally find your truest essence. And I'll say this like publicly, everything that is happening to me right now in terms of our reach and our podcast and even the social media, even the events, everything, all of it started happening when we came together and when I finally was able to accept her love. It was so profound the moment that I realized it, where I thought, oh my God. And then you know what my ego did in that moment? Here's what my ego did, because for some reason I have so many female followers.
Right.
My ego goes, guess what? Well, wait a minute. Well, what if I could have other females that like me, or whatever the case may be? And my ego was just trying to find ways to avoid true love.
Yes.
You know, why do we do that?
I talk about this a lot, and it comes down to our subconscious, right? And our subconscious programming and what we're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have a certain fear and it is triggered in relationship, we don't necessarily feel the fear. It comes out in anxiety or in what I call shiny object syndrome, right? Looking for what else could be out there.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, these fears are what we experience love to be as we grew up. So there's a few main ones, right? And you can look at it from the lens of attachment theory, right? I talk a lot about attachment theory. So there's the fear of abandonment, which is someone with more anxious attachment tendencies. There's fear of engulfment or fear of losing your freedom, which is more avoidant tendencies. There's a fear of rejection, which is what's called fearful avoidant or anxious avoidant.
Geez, I think I'm like all 7 of those.
You and me both, Danny.
I'm all messed up.
But this is how we can help others. We experience it within ourselves. And so we can open our hearts and be able to allow other people to reflect back and see themselves, right? Yeah. And how wonderful that you're able to teach through all that you've gone through, right? So, you know, and then there's secure, right? Which is somebody who's comfortable with intimacy. So what happens is that at usually a young, very, very young age, they've even done studies on babies, on attachment styles, absolutely nuts, that it's so young that the way we attach to our caregivers can be so programmed in us. For example, someone with anxious tendencies, like a baby, when the mom leaves, cry, mom comes back, they keep crying because they're not quite, they don't quite trust that they're actually getting their needs met for a little bit longer. A secure baby will immediately stop crying when mom comes back. An avoidant baby, no crying, no change, but cortisol levels and heart rate, the exact same as the anxious baby.
Wow.
Right? So that's because we're experiencing fear. It's just how we externally process it. So your fear may come up in always wondering when she's going to text you back, right? Always being like looking out for, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Like, oh gosh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was me.
Yeah. It's tiring, right?
Yeah, it's very tiring. Yeah.
And you're like, why am I like this in relationships?
Yeah.
And I'm totally cool in every other part of my life.
In business and everything. And I'm cool. Yep.
Totally different animal.
Yeah.
Avoidance can look like picking out flaws in your partner to always have an out, have a reason, like you're stacking up these reasons like, oh, okay,
see, that's it right there.
If you've ever dated someone with avoidant tendencies, you may have built up stories about why you've been left because they will be very on point about, oh no, you said this thing and it totally made me feel like this wasn't safe anymore and so I left. But it's their own internal accumulation of feelings and of fears and of doubts coming up, or they leave without explanation, right? It can be very painful. Fearful avoidance looks like trying to pick out when you're going to be rejected, right? Like, oh, her energy feels off tonight. Well, I don't like her anymore anyways. I'm going to reject you. It actually reminds me, in middle school, I had a boyfriend and he had been my crush for a while and we finally had the label and I was like, this is so great. And a week in, it was Valentine's Day and I found out he was going to dump me on Valentine's Day. And so we both saw each other in like the courtyard, ran towards each other and went, you're dumped, like at the same time. So we've made amends since we were 12. But, you know, that's what it looks like to us. So we don't necessarily know that it's a fear or a subconscious fear coming to the surface. It feels very real as these like surface level feelings, right? So it's really important to identify what are the stories that you have creating your fears, your subconscious fears. Is it that, you know, as soon as I get close to somebody, they leave? And why? Right? We could go really deep. Why would someone leave when they see you? Or is it as soon as I get into a relationship, I'm not going to be able to be myself anymore. I'm going to feel enmeshed or engulfed, right? Because they're not going to accept me and I'm going to have people with avoidant tendencies tend to feel a lot of responsibility for the other person. And so really trying to identify, okay, what is the fear? What are the stories that I have creating this fear? Where do those stories come from? Because then you realize they're not actually yours. They were inherited, which also means you get to choose a new story. So every time you feel that coming up, that's your opportunity to become more emotionally available for yourself, to be able to sit, to acknowledge what's happening, and to ask yourself, is this reality or is this my fear? Right? And, I think it's also really important to just caveat that, or just to add on, that we are attracted to somebody with the opposite fear. Right? This is called the anxious avoidant trap in attachment theory. And so we oftentimes become so closed off or so wound up so tight around our stories and them being our truth that we continue to live them again and again and again because we're not willing to think differently or to actually bring awareness to the way we're thinking and feeling. So we attract partners who take away our freedom, who don't accept us, who leave us. So we are recreating those stories again and again, and that's how it becomes your truth, right? This is confirmation bias. If you're familiar with confirmation bias, it's, we believe what we think is true. That's our ego. And then we do everything we can to prove it true. And any evidence that it's not true, we actually harp down even harder or clamp down even harder on our initial belief and push away any other evidence. That's why social media is so powerful, right? You either get triggered by something and you're like, that's not my truth, or you're like, yes, 100%, show me more of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's so interesting, but the thing you get triggered by, it's my most viral videos are fueled by the people who don't agree with the video.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So It's like, go ahead. Yeah. Don't agree, but you're fueling the very thing that you don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. How do people find you?
Yes. So you can connect with me on Instagram, Emily Freeman Coaching. I have a free newsletter that comes out every other week also, so you can sign up for that for free. I have a private community on Facebook. I'm sure we'll link to all of these in the description. And I just actually launched a course just a couple of months ago. It's my latest digital course, Masculine in Love. And this is really for the man who has it all, but the dream woman, to go through exactly what we talked about, understanding your subconscious programming, understanding how to determine compatibility, and then how to step into your masculine energy, how to honor your feminine, how to communicate and lead the feminine, and ultimately how to create a lasting partnership through boundaries and everything that creates that lasting connection with a woman.
I love that. And you helped me do just that.
Yes.
So I highly recommend it.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so happy for you. I could not be just more excited for your journey.
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
And so worth it though, right?
Oh, 100%.
So
100%,
worth it.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it for this week's episode of The Higher Self. Thank you, Emily, for being here.
So much.
This was fun. It was fun meeting you, like face to face.
Face to face.
Yeah, your fiance, who's back there behind the cameras. I hope you guys enjoyed this. There were a lot of nuggets here for you, single or not single, because it's all just your relationship with relationships, And so I hope you listen again. And, if you've got some folks out there that are important in your life that are single, right, that wear that S on their chest, share this with this one, because hopefully they learn that there's nothing wrong with it. And it's just part of a time period in their journey that they're in. And hopefully this episode will help them to master and get more comfortable with being single, and as a result, step into their power and the power that will lead them to finding their soulmate. We'll see you next week on The Higher Self. Thanks for watching this week's episode of The Higher Self. If you heard something in this week's episode that caused you to think maybe, just maybe, there was a higher potential for your life, maybe there was a potential to earn and receive financial freedom, to attract the relationship of your dreams, or to improve your health, that's what we specialize in. We help wonderful human beings like yourself to unravel all of the limiting thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you've been living through so that you can finally tap into your life's truest potential. If you'd like to talk more about that, we invite you to join us on Instagram or Facebook and email us the word discover more. And when my team sees that, they will reach out to you, send you the details of how we could help you on your pathway to a life of abundance, fulfillment, and creating the absolute life of your dreams. Message us right now the words discover more now on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll see you soon.